Do you know what a bounty hunter is?
You kill people, and they give you a reward.
Better they are, bigger the reward.
Hey guys, Lucas here again for another movie review. Not only is it another movie review, but it is also my last review of the year, and what better way to end off the year with the new Quentin Tarantino flick, Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino has been one of the biggest influences on me as a film goer and a aspiring writer and director, and I've taken a lot of my ideas from him, a lot of my music choices, a lot of my writing styles from him. I always kind of thought if I was a writer, my dialogue would be most like his, but not as good. But just the way that a lot of his characters talk is kind of how I talk. Not every minute with complete strangers, but with my close friends and stuff. He's always been a big influence on me, and I don't think he's ever made a bad movie, and each one of his movies are so vastly different. And when a Quentin Tarantino movie comes out, it's an event. So I was very, very much looking forward to this movie. It was actually my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year once summer ended. Now, Django Unchained, it follows Jamie Foxx's character Django, who's a slave, and he is freed by Dr. King Schultz, Christoph Waltz character from Inglourious Basterds fame. And he says, I gotta find these three guys, the Brittle brothers, but I don't know what they look like, but you do. So he helps him find these three guys and also trains him to be a bounty hunter. And through the course of events, he says that he'll help him rescue his wife, who is at this plantation called Candyland under the kind of dictatorship of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Calvin J. Candy, who owns the plantation. And I'm going to say straight off the bat, I freaking love this movie. I thought it was epic. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. If not my favorite, I have to think about that. It's just a really, really fun ride. The performances in this movie are all fantastic. I can't think of one bad performance in here. Jamie Foxx is very likable as Django. He doesn't say much, but when he does, you listen. And it was kind of a cool homage, almost kind of like The Man with No Name from the Westerns, except his name is used a lot. In fact, it's the title of the movie. He lashes out and he's very violent, but at the same time he remains very likable. And Christoph Waltz is fantastic in this movie. It seems like Christoph Waltz, he picks crap after crap after crap movie until he gets to another Tarantino film. While his performance here is not as, I think, amazing as it was in Bastards, it's still a great performance, and he finally plays a good guy and a really likable dude, so that was really a nice change of pace for me. Leonardo DiCaprio is also fantastic, again playing off type. He plays the slave owner, plantation owner, Calvin J. Candy, as I said, and he is extremely despicable, almost as despicable as Samuel L. Jackson's character, Steven, who's kind of like the house slave to Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and he kind of runs the plantation while Leonardo's gone. But he's also kind of the brains behind Leonardo DiCaprio's character in a lot of ways too, and in some ways is almost as unlikable as Leonardo's character. Another hallmark of Tarantino films is fantastic dialogue. The dialogue in this movie is all written really well. There's a lot of detail to the time period, the way the slaves talk, the way the educated white people talk. But then, other than that, there's just some really good lines in here. While I can't say it might be the sharpest writing out of all Tarantino's movies, it's still really entertaining. I mean, I don't think people will be quoting this movie like they are Pulp Fiction, but that doesn't mean to say that this is not a really strong script. Like Tarantino films, you never really know what you're gonna get, and I noticed this with almost all of Tarantino's films that I've seen. Near the end of the movie, like the last 30 minutes or so, or even in the middle, there's always a scene where it takes a completely different turn that you weren't expecting, and you're in the beginning kind of going, you're kind of uneasy about it, and you're like, I don't really know if I'm going to like where this big turn he's taking here. But in the end, it all pays off, and this movie has a couple of moments like that. and it reminded me of a lot of scenes like that from Inglourious Basterds and even Pulp Fiction. The movie just keeps you guessing, even though the story is fairly simple. Everything around it is really unpredictable, and it's a lot of fun. And the reason why I said this movie is epic, because the violence in this movie is absolutely nuts. It could be, hear me out here, this could be the most bloody and violent Tarantino film ever made. Now, I'm going to let you sink that in, because if you've seen Tarantino's movies, granted though, I have not seen Kill Bill. I've never seen either of the two Kill Bills, and I know that has a pretty big head count, so maybe I shouldn't say that this has the biggest, but it's the biggest I've seen, and the blood in this movie is over the top. It's very fake looking, but again, that kind of adds to the blaxploitation western kind of old school feel to it, and it's almost kind of used in a way in a comedic effect that I really like, but it's just epic. There's almost like fight choreography in this movie when it's just people shooting guns, and the movie has a lot of really cool fast very quickly paced violence, and then also near the end it uses a lot of slow motion violence. And this hasn't happened in a movie that I've seen for a long time, but there was a moment in this movie where I really just wanted to stand up and cheer and just start fist pumping in the theater. It was that cool. To be honest, if I have any problems with this movie, I would say that in the middle, because the movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes, it's a very long movie. In the middle, there's a scene during their confrontation with Leo, and they're discussing Jamie Foxx's wife, and they're betting on these fighters that takes place. It's a pretty long scene. It's like 10-15 minute long scene just in this this conversation in this dining room, and that's when I kind of felt the movie starting to slow down near the middle, and felt like Django was kind of a secondary character. Luckily, they make that up in spades in the last 30 minutes of this movie. And also, I thought Kerry Washington, who plays Jamie Foxx's wife, she was kind of more of a plot device than anything, but I understand why she was there. Obviously, she's kind of the plot of the movie, but she felt she didn't have a lot of lines, and she felt underwritten, but that's just a very minor complaint. Overall, I freaking loved this movie. It's one of Quentin Tarantino's best. It actually is probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie besides Pulp Fiction, which is probably one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorites of the year. I can't quite get it to 5. This is one of the few years where I haven't given a movie 5 out of 5, but this movie came very close to getting that rating. Could be my favorite movie of the year. I gotta say, it might be the most fun I've had this year. It has some of the best moments in a movie I've seen in a long time, and I freaking loved it. So Django Unchained gets a very highly recommended 4.5-star rating from me if you can stomach the violence and, you know, the language in this movie. A lot of uses of the N-word, but it's the time period, so I don't know why people are complaining about that. So I will be making my best of 2012 list very soon. I don't know if I'll be making my worst of list, because while there has been a lot of stinkers this year, I can't really say I have enough to make a top 10 list. Yes, there were a lot of mediocre to lame films this year, but there's only like 4 I could really say that I really thought were truly awful. So I don't know if I'll be making a worst of list. But stay tuned. If you like this review, please subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys for the next video, and after that, I'll see you guys in the new year.
In my world, you gotta get dirty. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting dirty.
What's your name?
Django. D-J-A-N-G-O. The D is silent. Adult supervision is required.